Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Own Your Own Freedom. I just want to give a shout out to everyone who is in containment, confinement, quarantine, whatever the case may be, to all of our medical professionals, to everyone who's working in the public sector, trying to keep things running. I wish you the best, honestly, and my prayers go out to you so that you don't get sick and you don't pass on any sickness to anyone. In all the situation, it's just we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future will look like. I know that our containment has been extended for another 2 weeks until April 15th. That's what it is here in France. And we'll see what happens after that. But oh my goodness, this is so hard. It's really hard being confined in a place. And especially because all my family is in the United States, it's very difficult for me to be away. And I know that you guys can relate to that. So, oh yeah. So shout out to everyone who's sort of going through the same thing, because the whole world is affected. And my faith is not in the government. My faith is in God. So whatever things turn out to be, it'll be a-okay. So with that said, this is going to be a response video to something that a video I saw recently by a YouTuber with her channel is called Permission to Exist. Just FYI, I don't have any problems with any YouTuber or anything. I don't have a problem with this YouTuber. I actually really like her earlier content. She's the one who made one of the videos, one of the really viral videos about messing with the narcissist in your life, basically like having some fun with the fact that their mind is so skewed, which is really fun. It was really lighthearted and was really helpful, I would say, because we don't want to take all this material about narcissism, we don't want to take all of this so seriously that we feel like we're helpless and that we have no control. And I feel like that video was really good to sort of give us some control back, those of us who suffered narcissistic abuse or any sort of toxic, abuse or maltreatment. But then this last video, but also some of her recent videos, where she talks about political things, I cringe. I just can't. There's some people that just don't need to be talking about politics, and especially because it's so. It's not complex, because the basic person, if they do basic research, can understand, but there's so much misinformation out there and so many lies out there, thank you media, that it's difficult to respond to anybody because they're so embedded. And this is the case with Permission to Exist. And so I know that I'm fighting an upward battle. I know I'm fighting a losing battle with trying to convince people of what the truth is. And I hope this is the last video that I make on this sort of topic. But anyway, I see some potential in her to receive some truth, receive some enlightenment. And I just want to do my due diligence to sort of get you all, if not her, but then you all on the right track, so that we're not drowning in this pit of misinformation and manipulation, because that's really what it is. So before I get started, I just want to tell you a bit about myself really quickly, because it's important that you don't just think I'm some random person talking, having a response video to someone else, just trying to start stuff, because that's not the case at all. Number one, I come at this from the perspective of someone who values and who diligently seeks truth, no matter where it comes from. It really all comes from the same source. The truth all comes from the same source. And it begins and ends in the same place. But I don't have any political alliance. Just to tell you some of my background, I was born in a swing state. I was raised in a Democratic state and went to university in a Republican state. And then now I'm living in France, which is like none of the above. So, I don't have any political alliance. I would say of myself that I have some sort of balance in my view, because I don't fall on any sort of political lines. I just want the truth. And because most of the time the truth doesn't really come from any particular one political side, I find myself right in the middle all the time. So So immediately, because of this, you'll sense a difference between how I approach this topic and how she approaches this topic. And it's very evident. It's frustrating to me because I'll see these YouTubers and it's very evident of where they get their information from based on the stuff that comes out of their mouth. I'm just like, ugh, cringe. Number two, I'm actually currently studying. I'm getting my master's in political science and European policy, which constantly compares the United States approach to public policy and social issues to the way that countries in Europe do, the European Union does. And so I'm not one to basically criticize the United States right off the bat. I like to have a more balanced view that every country is different. But I'm talking this from, a perspective of I write papers on this. I have to write my thesis on this. Like, this is not new to me. And I'm not ignorant. Also, number three, my personality is one that sort of, gets frustrated with things like conspiracy theories or people who maybe in their ignorance of facts or in their inability to resolve problems stir up anxiety and fear in people. It's frustrating because that's what we have a media for. That's what they do all day long. They're supposed to report the facts, but all they do is stir up anxiety and fear and anger. So, and I feel like she did this in this video right off the bat. And my personality sort of demands accuracy, not just from myself, but from others. It makes me a walking lie detector. This does not mean that Permission to Exist's recent video was a lie. It was just that she presented her feelings and her perceptions of reality as fact without properly adhering to definitions or the truth or fact. And then number four, everybody thinks that they understand the problem. They understand this whole narcissistic society that we live in. That's sort of where the angle that she's coming from, that we're sort of able to catch the culprit red-handed. But if you don't approach the problem with a view of two kingdoms, the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness, then you don't know what you're talking about. You're going to always fall short of resolving the problem because you think that there's people, that you have to attack certain people, which is what she does. So here's my beef with this video. Basically, the video is entitled Work and Die. And her frustration is because of, well, many different things that she doesn't really clarify. But what I understand from the video is that she's frustrated with the way that certain people of corporations, or corporations view their workers. The way that she's reading from an article from the Huffington Post where they criticize specifically millionaires and people who are heads of companies, but specifically this one guy. But they basically make the claim that the people are not as important. The health of the people and the workers is not as important as filling the pockets of the millionaires and the corporations. And she sort of just aids and abets in that, not really investigating the facts or anything. And so she becomes a tool of further manipulation and propaganda in this world. I mean, I know that sounds really grand, but it's not. I mean, if we don't do our due diligence, if we open our mouth and tell someone something that we heard on the news and it's not true, then we're aiding in the manipulation and the gaslighting. So there's that. First of all, she doesn't really define who she's talking about when she starts the video off. She says things like the ideas that these people put forth. And I don't really know if she's talking about these people. If she's talking about narcissists, she doesn't say any specific names. She doesn't talk about any specific people. I guess that sort of makes her feel like she's being all encompassing, and it doesn't really help with resolving any problems. Like if she were to say she has a problem with the stimulus package, I could talk with her about that, because everybody has a problem with that. That's not singular to anyone. Everybody has a problem with $2 trillion being taken from the American people to pay for something that we had nothing to do with. That's a problem. Also, if she wants to talk about the president and certain policies, we can talk about that too. But you don't just say these people, because that doesn't define who these people are, or these major corporations, as she says, or these corporate overlords that she says, as if like we're in high school. She starts out attacking the boogeyman, essentially. She talks about individuals in control of the resources. And I'm just like, but who are you specifically talking about? If you don't know, it's okay. Then don't talk about the issue. But if you're just attacking the boogeyman, that doesn't really help us resolve anything. And you're just inciting fear. My second issue is that, of all places, she uses Huffington Post. she reads a Huffington Post article to prove her point, meaning that she's still very much plugged into the misinformation, campaign and the behavioral manipulation of the mainstream media, despite the fact that she recognizes how narcissistic the system, I use system in quotations because I don't even really feel like she knows what she's talking about when she says the system. But despite the fact that she knows how narcissistic the system is as we human beings operate under, she's still fully dependent on the information they spoon feed her, which is sort of like, I don't understand that. Then on a third note, she aids in Huffington Post misinformation by repeating and expounding upon their gross misquoting of the guy they're trying to smear. The guy they're trying to smear, I happen to know this person know of this person because I watched him do an entire dissecting, 3-part series, investigating what journalists in the media refused to investigate. That was the Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in Ukraine corruption with $8 billion of American money just simply disappearing in the region. I thought that was, he was one of the only people doing it. And I just felt like, it went viral. It got, I think it got maybe a couple million views. It was incredible, the work that they put into. And yet this is the one that she's criticizing, the one who's criticizing corruption and this money just disappearing. This is the person she wants to criticize. This is the person that she wants to help smear. This is a conspiracy theorist. People called him a conspiracy theorist, apparently. And yet all of the theories that he has come true. He's the one that was suing Google, one of the many companies that were suing Google because of their practices on YouTube and how they would censor certain content that they didn't agree with, whether by hand or whether by algorithm. They censor people they do not agree with because Google operates under a certain ideology, clearly a certain ideology based on who they align themselves with, and anything that does not align with that does not promote their ideology, they will remove. So, that's just the way it is. And so this is the person that they choose to criticize. And then she aids and abet by not doing her research and misquoting the guy they're trying to smear. They're trying to say they tried to say that he is this some millionaire that, a conservative millionaire, apparently, because you got to have the conservative part in there. He's just some millionaire that doesn't care about the lives of the people that work for him. And he'd rather sacrifice some few lives because either you choose between having a bad economy or having bad health, whatever the case may be. But let me actually do the research she should have done. And let me share with you what exactly he said in context. And then you can tell me where he made the insinuation that people don't matter to him.
Fair time to disagree with you. But I really think that there are more Americans that are of my age, perhaps your age. I don't know how old you are, but where their kids are 67. Wow, you look good for 67. Thank you. Where your kids are out of the house or close to out of the house, that I would be willing to, and I think a lot would be willing to bet that there are millions of us that would say, this is our service. This is our World War II. And if I have to go out and I get sick, that's fine. I'll work until I can't work anymore and don't waste the medicine on me, but I'll keep this thing going so everyone else can stay safe. But we've got to open this country up for business or there isn't going to be anything left. I don't think we make it to Easter. I really don't. I'm talking to people today that were saying, I may not have a business next week. And these were people that were doing well 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was saying to my business partner, this may be the turnaround year for me. This may be the best year I've had in over 10 years. That's done. I mean, I had a phone call today going, okay, so will the network stay on if things continue like this? What are you thinking? I mean, big companies are turning things inside out. That's not going to last. It's just not going to last.
Now, I watched that whole podcast video because it's on his channel, his Blaze TV channel. Okay, so I watched that. That's the research. Plus, I also read the article that she linked in her video. And I still can't find the place where he ever insinuated that the people that work for him don't matter, or that the American worker doesn't matter. I don't see that at all. You tell me in the comments if that's what you see. But honestly, that's the guy you're going to smear? He said in the clearest way possible that this is a sentiment. He wasn't stating fact. This is a sentiment, what he feels, that the American people want to go back to work as a service to their children. This is their World War II. This is their service. And that's what you want to criticize? See, that's the thing. When there's misinformation and when there's a whole system called the mainstream media who want you to believe something and who want you to be angry and enraged at a certain group of people, they will do anything to accomplish their end goal. And that one thing is to smear people from top to bottom, to quote them out of context, and to get you to have an emotional reaction. She's talking about manipulating people with their fear, because that was a good point that she made in her video, was that you know, people who are, and I'm guessing she's talking about narcissistic people, but she wasn't really clear. She just said the people that are in control of the resources, whoever that might be. Because we can totally write policy and to change things and to sue the individuals in court in control of the resources without actually mentioning names. We could just put a whole blank on the lawsuit papers. But she's saying that somehow these people, like, that they're not that important. But like, how do you misquote that? That's intentional. They wanted her, and they want all of us to have an emotional reaction and to hate the person next to us. That's the end goal. So that the people who are actually behind the scenes, the ones who are really manipulating power, who refuse to come to court, who refuse to get on and have actual public interviews, that refuse to be debated, that refuse to hear different political opinions and different religious beliefs, those people, they are the ones that are actually behind the scenes, pulling the strings and manipulating people, and they are the ones that are going to actually end up being in control. She's worried about the people that we see. Oh no, honey. Oh no. There's a whole world of darkness we don't know, that we've never seen, and we won't see for a long time. But that's basically the research that she should have done. I just did it for you, and I did it for her. Is quoting people accurately. That's the person. Those are the type of people that they want to smear. The ones that are investigating the truth. The ones that are promoting things like self-sacrifice, thinking of someone else before yourself. Then the next thing that she does is she wrongly mischaracterizes what I assume she thinks are, number one, pro-lifers. Number two, maybe conservatives. I mean, considering the current White House administration, I don't know. Criticizing Congress, the people who finally worked together to pass a stimulus package that wastes $2 million of American money. Sure, to spend in areas that maybe have nothing to do with COVID-19, etc. I guess that's what she's talking about. And she claims sarcastically that they are presenting us with only two choices, that is a health crisis or an economic crisis, and I don't agree with either one. But all of this she uses to support her argument that quote unquote corporate overlords, as she describes in their description box to describe her video, that the corporate overlords don't value the health of the worker as much as their money or their economy. All of this is emotional. All of this is evidence that she's been manipulated, just like most of the American people, most of the world has been. And it completely ignores reality. Here's the reality. Yes, it sucks that we're in this situation. Yes, it's terrible that we have to figure out when our next paycheck is going to come and what life is going to look like in the next week or so. But that doesn't mean that we should just be pointing the finger and blaming people and shouting, corporate overlords. What we should be doing is considering, how can we, in the system that we have, yes, it's screwed up. Yes, it's wrong. Yes, it doesn't protect the people. But in the system that we have, how can we gain as much control over our own personal life as possible? How can we, and there's plenty of people who are aware of this. And I don't know why she thinks this is such a new phenomenon that companies don't care about their people. Of course they don't. It's a contract. You work for them and they give you money. That's it. To think that they're supposed to care about you, I don't know what dream world you live in. To think they're supposed to care about your health. You care about your health. You, your church, your local community, and God. That's it. But there are ways that people, the average person, takes full control over what they do, over how much money they have, over where their money goes, because they don't invest in the stock market. They don't invest in all these different public areas. They are private citizens taking full control over their resources, over what their children learn, over what food goes in their mouth, over all these things that she's been complaining about. And all these people are complaining about as if we don't know. There are people who are taking full control. They're not shouting at the government to try to say, oh, you're wrong. Something's wrong with you. Everybody should just wake up. She said it several times. I hope everybody around the world, but especially Americans, would wake up. I'm like, bro, we're already woken up. We're just trying to function in the system that we have. And yeah, some of us aren't awake, but most of us are. We're just trying to operate in the system that we have. And I've learned that, as I hope that she would learn, is to question all information that gets thrown at me. Every time someone tells me something, I should be critical, and I should investigate. I don't just consume information that people tell me, because I'm not a sheep. I've woken up from that a long time ago. And it really just, like I've been saying, it really just confuses me that people who have been subjected to types of abuse, to narcissistic abuse, sometimes physical, emotional, psychological, sexual abuse, how we can be free of that. We could take that part of our life in control, but not get free of misinformation and smear campaigns and gaslighting and behavioral manipulation of the media. It doesn't make any sense to me. So once again, turn it all off. Turn off your notifications. Turn off the media. Don't listen to these articles. Have your 15 to 20 minutes in the evening of your news time to sort of get information about what's going on. And then in your spare time, like on a weekend, do your research about what's actually going on. Be very careful about what sources that you listen to, about what news articles you read, about what podcasts you listen to. Be very careful. Do your due diligence to see what their sources are, who's paying them, and then filter through all of the information that they're giving you, because most of it will have some sort of angle to incite you to anger, incite you to fear, or whatever the case may be. HuffPo is just one of many of these media outlets that they just can't help but incite fear. They just can't help but smear people that they don't agree with. So anyway, like I said, let me know down in the comments if you have seen this video, if you've seen other videos like it, where people just don't have enough perspective of the facts of the information to not be subject to the same system they're trying to rail against. Or if you're like, I don't want you to make another video like this. And I'm like, I don't either. I really don't. Like I said, this is an upward battle, and I don't know how effective this will be to change anyone's mind. But that's not my goal. My goal is to help you guys to be free. Be free from anything that holds you back from having a free mind, emotion, and life. If you don't know my content, subscribe down below, hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video, and I will see you on the next one.